Hi everybody and welcome to this tutorial. Today we're going to be building the stool for our drum kit set. If you've been following along, you will have built the drum kit and the drumsticks hopefully by now. If you've not been following along, you can find the other videos on my channel, or if you're just trying to build a drum stool, then you've come to the right place. As always, I like to start with some reference pictures, so if I open up my references over here, these they're all very sort of similar. Some have got different bits of sizing and stuff. Some have got backs, but we're just going to go for a simple stool like this. So we'll create this cylinder shape here, and then we'll create some legs for our stool. I've done a few checks on sizes, and as you can see here, it's around about 30 centimeters, just a little bit smaller, so we'll be aiming for 30 centimeters on our stool, and we can scale as needed. So we've got a new Blender file. We're just going to delete our default cube and let's go from there. So let's start by Shift A to add in a new mesh, and we'll start with a cylinder. We'll leave this at 32 vertices, and let's stick with 30 millimeters for that and 10 centimeters high. That looks fine. Just press full stop on this object so we can zoom in. Yep, that looks fine. I'm just going to jump into side view, and we're going to position the height on this, which is about 0.4, so about 40 centimeters off the ground. Some are higher or lower, but again, once we export this into Unity, we'll probably be able to change the size inside there rather than getting the precise size inside here. Now if we look at this, this shape is a little bit sharp at the minute, so I'm just going to jump into edit mode and let's apply smooth shading to this edge, and we'll leave the top and the bottom as flat, but this edge is still just a little bit strong, so I'm just going to select this face, extrude on the Z just a little bit, and then we'll scale this in, and that'll create a slightly more rounded edge for us to actually sit on. Otherwise that sharp edge would be extremely uncomfortable. So that's our seat done, and we just need a cylinder for the tube going down. So Shift A, mesh and cylinder. We don't need this to be anywhere near as big as that. 0.025. We don't need as many vertices, so I'm just going to go 8 on here. It's unlikely we're going to see this in VR unless we get down on our hands and knees, so we can save a few vertices there, and we don't want anything on our end caps either, so I've just removed those off. And height wise, if we go 0.35, that should mean we can put this slightly into there, and it's still ticking down a little bit, so I think that looks fine. I actually think it might be a bit big, so I'm just going to reduce this down a little bit. That looks much better, and now let's create some feet. So I believe if we look at our photo, we've got three feet on here. So let's do that. I'll use let's start with let's use this cylinder, and 8 should be fine. I'm going to have this, that actually looks about there, 0.25, oops, 0.025, sorry. So this is just going to form the first foot. I think that moves slightly, so I'm just going to put this back onto the 0 and move it up. Sorry, I wanted to do that in edit mode, and I want to do that in edit mode to leave the origin on this flat line here, so the origin will stay in place and the object will move up. So that's going to be our first foot. I'm just going to eyeball this out. That looks about right. Select this top edge loop. I'm just going to create a face on the side here. I'm just going to extrude and scale that in. And then we're going to extrude on the Z, and we're going to use this to connect into the center, and I'll just scale that down, and that'll hide away inside there, and we've got a very basic foot. I think this might stick down a little bit too much, so let me just grab this edge loop here and double tap G and just move that up. Okay, and now, so we need 3 of these feet, and we could pick one and we could rotate it around, but there's a better way of doing that. And if we control this Z axis here, you'll see it's rotating around this sort of middle point, which is its origin. What we want it to do is rotate around this central origin. So to do that, we just reset this origin. So our 3D cursor is at 0, 0, and let's press space and do set origin. And we'll set our origin to the 3D cursor. That now means that this is our rotation point for this object. So if I rotate on this Z now, you will see it's rotating around that central point. And the next thing we can do is add in an array modifier, and we want 3 feet in this example. And we want this to sort of rotate around this, and no matter how much you adjust these settings here, you'll never get it to rotate around this central point here. What you need to do for that is use a offset, even though, yeah, let's set this to 0. So we use that object offset, and we need to tell Blender which object to offset it by, and to create it around this central origin we'll create a new empty here. So at the location of the 3D cursor, we're just going to press Shift A and add in an empty plane axes, and that will create as a axes object, which is just an empty object. There's no data really assigned to it. And we'll use that to be our central offset for our array. So we can see that in play now. So if we select our empty, tick object offset, and now we rotate this, you'll see that rotation goes around that offset point, and it allows us to move our legs in. Now there's only 3 here, we could have done more, but if you decided you suddenly wanted more legs for whatever reason, you can use this and quickly have those legs going around this central point. But obviously we only need 3, and we'll have them evenly spaced, so we'll do them 120 degrees, and that creates us 3 nice feet. I think we will add smooth shading onto these. And let's add smooth shading onto this central object, and let's create some materials. So we will add a chrome material to this object, and the feet we will add a chrome material, and we want probably a rubber material for the feet, so let's add in here rubber. And we just need to select these faces, so I'm just going to select the face select, holding down Alt and clicking on this we'll select the face loop, and we can do the top, hold down Shift at the same time as Alt, and it will select multiples. We've not got a face under there, so that's good. Let's assign that rubber colour. I'm just going to change this to black so we can see that it's been assigned. And then we need a seat cover here, so let's do stool material, let's just call it stool, and we'll go for a black because that's what everybody seems to be using for this. And that's it, we're ready to go. We'll be creating the materials inside Unity, so we won't actually be using these materials here. I've just assigned them here so we can see them in Unity. So we just need to export all this now. So I'm going to save first, and then I'll apply these modifiers, and we've got nothing else with a modifier on. I'm just going to join these objects, so I'm just clicking the first one, holding down Shift and clicking join. Actually, let's leave those unjoined, and the reason for that is if we decide we want to have this stool higher, so if we want the stool up here, we can just get this one inside Unity and scale it on the Z, and we will actually be able to just adjust that to wherever we want. So let's leave them all as separate objects. Shift click to select them all. Let's do the file, export, FBX. And if you've been following along, you will have all these drum kits already. If you've not followed along, just export these to wherever you want and import them into Unity. And it's called stool. We need to select selected objects here, so it will only export what we've got selected, and select the FBX unit scale, which means that the scale we export at will be 1 unit is 1 meter inside Unity. So let's export that object now, and if I jump over into Unity, you can see we've got our drum kit, our basement. So this is what we've been building. So if you've been following along, you will have seen this already. If not, you can follow my other tutorials and you will build this basement environment, build this drum kit and this drumstick. And because we're building a virtual reality drum kit, so in our models here we should have our stool, so let's just drag and drop that in. And that looks very large. It's almost the size of one of our kits. Is there something, let me just check if we've got something wrong with the scaling inside here. Just going to re-export. The scale is actually set to 1. Maybe it just looks a bit large. I guess the advantage of being inside here is we can adjust this scale now, which I'll just quickly do until I feel it's round about the right height. That'll do. And we have got some materials already from before. So in my materials here, I've got a chrome, so I'm just going to drag that onto the legs and onto this central piece, and I'll use a rubber material for here, and we just need a seat material, so let's create a new material, seat cover. I'll just make this a black colour with a little bit of smoothness and put that on there. And there we go, we've got our nice stool ready to sit on and start playing the drums. So thank you very much for joining me on this quick tutorial for the drum stool. I hope to see you building some of the other things. If you've built some of these things yourself, I'd love to see them. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you shortly. Thank you very much.